My guest on the chamber this morning is Mr. Solomon Kote. He's the General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Right, so we're talking about casual workers, but can we start off by telling us who a casual worker is, first and foremost?
Yeah, thank you very much. When we talk about a casual worker, it's a class of worker whose nature of job is strictly described as intermittent, that which is done within some definitive period of time and the job is done with, and that job will not resurface immediately until after some good interval period. Now, the casual worker can be engaged either by word of mouth or by written letter.
Okay, so basically a casual worker works seasonally.
Exactly.
Just for a period of time. It's not continuous work.
It's not continuous work.
What does the law say about casual workers?
The law gives room for casual workers because employers have got some forms of jobs that are intermittent in nature. But then when you are keeping a casual worker who keeps doing the same job over a period of time, running to about 6 months, the law indicates that you must treat that worker as a regular or a permanent worker.
That's after a period of 6 months?
Yes, continuous, where there is no break.
Okay.
Even if you happen to be renewing the contract month after month, but we can be able to say it is continuously for 6 months, then that worker must be made permanent.
So if you're looking to employ the services of that particular worker into another month, maybe running into the 7th month, then that worker must be made permanent. Is that what we are saying?
The law was able to look into the future, able to establish that if I'm doing the same work for 6 continuous months, then it means that job is integral part of your business, which cannot be wished away. So entering into the 7th month, obviously I must be recognized and be treated as a permanent worker.
Okay. Now here is the case where we are hearing of workers who have been casual workers who have been in employment for upwards of about 5 years.
5 years is even slow. We have casual workers who have done 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and they have been treated as casual workers in this country.
So what distinguishes a casual worker from a permanent worker? Is there a contract that spells out that you're a casual worker? Because if you've been in employment for upwards of about 5 years, I'd imagine that you think you're a regular worker of whatever institution that you're working at.
That is your letter of appointment that will determine the nature of job that you are coming to do. The contract worker, as I said earlier, or the casual worker may be given a word of mouth to say, I've engaged you. So they come in sometimes, most of the time, without any...
So it's just an oral agreement.
Oral agreement, and then he comes into the job. The law allows that because it's supposed to be intermittent, so you need not to be too formal about it.
Okay.
But those that are supposed to be regular, indeed, we don't have anything called permanent worker. It's regular worker because nothing is permanent forever.
Right.
So it's the regular workers that we used to have. So all you can see is that the regular worker, his date of appointment is spelled out, his remuneration is spelled out, how he will progress on the job is equally also spelled out, and all that. What is entitled by reason of annual leave, maternity leave, what have you, are all spelled out. In the case of casual worker, all these things are denied.
So what are some of the rights of casual workers then? Since they are denied all of these things, what are some of their rights? What rights do they have?
In fact, their first point of right is to clothe themselves with the unions. Because
are they allowed to join unions?
The Constitution says that every worker in Ghana has the liberty to join or form association of his choice, and of course no class distinction, so they can equally also join. In our union, we have some casual workers who have been engaged by the union, and we do all matters of employment and unemployment on their behalf.
Okay, so that's one of their rights.
Yes.
The right to join unions. What other rights do they have?
They have the right also to step up and speak out in terms of how they are being treated. Just that the fear is that if you talk to an employer and say, look, I've been in this employment for the past 1 year, you are supposed to change my status, and it's not changing, the fear of losing the job. I've kept some of them
quiet so long
and looking on, and yet complaining within and complaining in their homes.
What about things like overtime, annual leave, health benefits, and so on? Are they entitled to any of these things?
They are entitled to all these conditions that are applied even to the permanent
And indeed,
worker.
are they getting them?
They are not getting it. And this is where we think most employers are making millions of cedis out of these, casual workers, because you find out that they are doing the same work that the regular worker is doing, yet serious discrimination in terms of remuneration and conditions of service.
Okay, what about SNIT contributions? Does this apply to casual workers?
They are entitled to be paid SNIT contribution, but you see, most employers are also not paying SNIT contributions to them.
So you mentioned that it's for a period of, if after a period of 6 months they must become regular workers, but we find that sometimes they are laid off after the 6 months. Is that in line with the law?
Well, that is the employer who want to be smart. You see that they lay them off and get fresh limbs all to come.
So every 6 months there's a new crop of casual workers.
Or else those who have become smart, what they do is that if your first month is ending, they make sure they create a small vacuum
and then come and rehire you again.
You are starting all over, so that they be the consistent, continuous element that the law actually looks at.
Are there any benefits for casual employees at all?
If a casual employees, the only benefit they have is the intermittent income that they get, but beyond that, the law actually protects them, and they need to get up and get themselves to be clothed by the law. Anything short of that, they will become slaves in their own country.
Which law exactly do they
the law stipulates that if you work as a Ghanaian and you are on this soil, you are supposed to pay your social security contribution. But you see, the first problem of the casual worker is that even his basic pay is not properly determined. Okay, you could be a first degree holder, could be a first degree holder, but if I'm coming as a casual, my basic pay is made far lower than yours. Okay, be far lower than yours.
And what does the law say about this?
You see, we have the constitution that says equal pay for equal work. For the fact that we are doing equal work, we must be remunerated equally. No discrimination.
So it's wrong that the casual workers are being paid far lower than their other contemporaries.
You see, if your organogram setup implies that for somebody to be a newscaster, this is what he's supposed to earn, and then you have come through interview and you have been engaged, and now I'm coming in and they say we are not ready to do formal engagement, so you are coming as a temporary staff. You shouldn't deny me of the basic level of remuneration that somebody who has the same qualification, the same job I'm coming to do, to be earning.
How do employers or businesses, how do they benefit by replacing permanent workers with casual staff?
You see, now the tactic is no more to say employer is attacking the organization of unionization drive. What they are doing is to ensure that they are depopulating regular workers and increasing casual workers, because over there they have huge gains. They will have the menace of coming to sit down with labor to say, let us negotiate all matters of employment. They will have the issue of a labor coming in to say that, look, you cannot just terminate somebody's employment without going through due process. All these things, employers are being smart to go out of it. If you permit me a bit, not too long in this country, about 15 years ago, employers began to come up to say that what we want to do is to concentrate on the core business. So the peripherals, let's leave it for others to handle. And then one realizes that it began with the outsourcing. So therefore they started with the securities. They say, oh, we don't need watchmen, don't need securities, and therefore we've outsourced them. What do we see? They've outsourced the security. Their own cronies have become the outsourcing operators, and then they hire this labor, supply them to this user, and then this user, instead of coming under Ghana agency law, which of course by ILO standard that we have ratified, the one who is recruiting the employees should go ahead and take a fee from the employer, from the employee, and then get to the agency who uses the employee to also pay some commission, and that ends the transaction. But now in this country, that agency rather becomes another employer for the outsourced people, charges the employer, collects the money, then they in turn pay the labor that they are supplying. Meanwhile, this labor enters in the premises of the employer, and they do all businesses for the employer.
I see.
And this is devastating. This is actually not good. It is by way of openly saying we will put morality aside and cheat people and make money.
So that's actually some of the benefits that the employers get from recruiting casual workers, not having to pay end of service benefits, medical bills, and so on and so forth.
In fact, in the face of the law, some elements of employment strictly demands casual work, and therefore the employer has that benefit of not keeping you when your job is not continuous, when your job is not flowing. But what we have realized is that those ones, like you've got a truck load of goods and is being carried out, and somebody stands there to do the tallying and all that, when that business ends for 3 continuous weeks, you are filling your warehouses, it ends there. Or let's say by way of a contract worker, a feminine female, okay, who is in confinement, okay, gets into the time to deliver and then go and take maternity leave. Then you get somebody to replace. When the one who has gone on maternity leave resumes, the one who was on contract has been given, the exit for him to go. But that is not what we are saying in this country. People have been given the title casual workers, and they are working 365 days a year and continue.
Do you think that the casualization of the workforce is a threat to employment security?
Certainly it is, and anybody who is in permanent employment today shouldn't think they are having a regular security, because we've done studies, and the studies is showing that more employers have now taken up to these outsourcing, and you see more outsourcing agents are all over in the country now. They are handling thousands of workers and they are supplying this labor left, right, center. As I indicated earlier on, the employer benefits so much, because look at the employer who is not paying Medicare for the employee himself, not his spouse, nor his dependents. That is huge. Then again, you come to look, it is not paying the social security, it is not paying other forms allowances, like let's say car maintenance or fuel or what have you. If you are a casual, you are denied all these things, and for us we see it as a huge savings to the employer.
What legal routes can a casual worker who's been in employment for more than 6 months take?
Irrespective of the fact that we have one of the wonderful labor acts across the continent, it's rather unfortunate that the labor department, which is a unit of the Ministry of Employment, have woefully not lived up to expectation, because when it comes to point of enforcement, it is a labor department that is supposed to actually come out with their labor inspectorate division. In fact, they are supposed to go around and come to you and say, Sandra, can we see a copy of your employment letter? And then they will have to audit it and ensure that yes, you are in the right place, you are doing the right thing, your labor, blah 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 blah. But you go there, even their own building is collapsing on them. It's an eyesore. You go there and they don't even have a single vehicle that will enable even the staff to go around and do this kind of job. Okay, so it's like the agencies have got a field day, nobody's at them, nobody's chasing them. What ought to be done? It is the individuals, employees who are in this class of workers who need now to be speaking up.
What does the Labour Commission do for such people?
Labour Commission is there to dispense justice. As soon as it is reported, you see them have to come up. But that is another major problem that we also have, because the Labour Department, the whole country, there are only two regions, and therefore workload is piled so much. Just about 3 weeks ago, an employer just came up and said, everybody resign from the union, resign from the business, and I'll pay each of you 3,000 Ghana. Looking at these vulnerable workers, forgetting that the union that they belong equally also have got a constitution that stipulates that if you want to come out of the union, give at least 1 month notice or maximum 3 months notice. But one day, employer says, resign from the union, resign from the business, and I'm prepared to give you 3,000. Here is the money. Now, a report was made to the commission. It took the commission 19 days before they were written to the employer. If this employer is packing bag and bagging, by now he'll be out of this country. Meanwhile, we all know when it comes to issues of redundancy pay, how it must be calculated, how it must be paid. Those who are on medication, the extension you must give them so that they are actually cured, because if the diseases were contracted whilst on the job, it is the duty of the employer to ensure that this particular ailment is cured. So they're taking advantage of the weak enforcement situation in the country, and workers in this country under casuals and temporary workers are actually suffering.
So if there's someone out there right now who's a casual worker and has heard this conversation this morning, they know that they've been in employment for over 6 months, what should they do? What steps can they take to remedy the situation?
As individuals, they can move to the Labour Department, the National Labour Commission, and make their case known. Or else, there are over 23 national unions in this country. We are all focused. It is one of our primary functions to ensure that we secure workers in this country. The federations are also there to help and to support. And therefore, if you could walk to any of these unions who actually work their sort, they welcome you and kick the issue
and take the case up for you. Okay. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Mr. Solomon Kote is the General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, and he joined me to talk about the plight of casual workers in this country.